Can you, is my sound okay? Because I can't use this microphone. I don't know why. I have to use the microphone from my webcam, and I don't know. It's okay?
Yep, it is. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and is this sound okay?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's great. Sounds like you have some kind of great audio setup. Yeah, I need this one too, I think.
I got this eventually, and I'm so pleased I did. It's really good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's worth it. Hello, hello.
Hi,
So,
hi.
well, it's lovely to meet in person.
Yeah, I think this too. It's really exciting for me because I always fear that my English is too bad, and if I try to just talk, it's okay, but sometimes I try to translate from German to English in my head, and then I get confused, and I forget all words, and I hope it will be okay.
I'm sure we'll manage. And like I said in the emails, I'm very grateful that you're going to have the conversation in my language, and that makes it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, that's true. Would be a lot easier for me if you speak German, but
Yeah, languages. It's amazing,
yeah,
really, isn't it, that we've human beings developed in such isolation from each other that we literally speak different languages. Quite
that's true.
something.
That's true. But some words are really similar in many languages.
Yes, because we all influence each other, and English and
Yes,
German have got lots of, well, the whole connection between England and Germany is very close.
yeah. I don't know, did Jessica tell you anything about me?
A little bit, but that's a good place to start. Tell me some stuff about you.
Oh, okay. Some stuff is not very specific, but
Oh,
I
tell me the relevant stuff that's relevant to
okay.
this conversation.
Okay. Um, for me, for sure, non-duality is important for me, but no, not non-duality, that's wrong. Maybe the opposite, because I had this really bad experiences with non-duality and this whole belief system. I think it was good for me for some years. I was involved with these teachings for, I don't know, 7 or 10 years. In the last 3 years, it was very intense. I was really in this mindset of I want enlightenment and
Mm,
I want to get what these people are saying. And when I will get it, then I will be free
mm,
from suffering. This
mm,
was my intention to follow these people. And yeah, but in the end, it led me into a really dark place of depersonalization, derealization, depression, anxiety, really bad fear. I don't know if I experienced such a fear in my life ever,
mm.
really. And then I had to question these teachings. And it was clear to me that I couldn't go on like this. I had to leave this belief system because it would have destroyed me at some point. And that's 6 years ago, I think. And since then I'm trying to, yeah, I don't know, not really find something new, but find different perspectives on things.
Mhm.
Mm, because I really think some parts of non-duality are really dangerous. And yeah.
So let me ask you, so two things. When you said you hoped, you were after enlightenment, I understand exactly what you're saying, and it would end suffering. Did you get, were you drawn to this in the first place because you were suffering?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
that your entry into it was because you felt you were suffering in yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it started with Eckhart Tolle and the book Power of Now. You
Right.
know
Yeah.
it, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like it resonated a lot with me because I think we all know this feeling of being in the here and now, and that this feels great somehow. And It started like this, and that was okay. That was, I had some great experiences with this feeling of being in the here and now and practicing being more in the here and now. But at some point it was like, okay, this is not enough. There has to be more to it. I would like to really dive into it. And then I looked into this whole philosophy and met different teachers, and it got deeper, and more extreme.
Was there a particular teacher or teachers that was part of that journey for you? Or
Yeah,
the whole
but
range?
these were German teachers, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think you know them.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But the last teacher I was with who really fucked me up was a student of Ramesh Balsekar.
Ah,
You know him.
yes. I met Ramesh. Yeah.
Yes. You have your own journey with
Yeah.
this too, and I'm curious how you got out of this mindset of no doership,
Hmm.
because this German teacher was like, okay, you have to realize that there's no doer, there is no thinker, no experiencer, and no doer and blah, and you have to see this and then you will be free. So this was my idea, that I have to get this somehow. And he had some, I don't know if Ramesh used these pointers also, but he had some kind of like inquiries you have to do to realize this. And I did all this really extreme till I came to the point of, okay, now I really feel what they are talking about. I really feel like I have no control whatsoever. And but this didn't feel liberating for me anymore. It was like, I don't know, mind-blowing terror, to say it like this.
No, yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
it's horrible. Yeah, I mean, I have some idea. I didn't stay with the Ramesh ideas for very long. It was very short phase for me, and it didn't lead to depersonalization or derealization. So, but these are horrible ideas
Mm.
and delusional, and you have to work really hard to get them, to take them on, because
Yeah,
they're so foreign. You have to commit yourself. You have to commit to taking them on,
yeah,
and
that's true.
that's a very cult-like phenomena, which you see in all sorts of different cults in different ways. And so yeah, there's a whole load in there. I mean, there's stuff around no doer, there's stuff around being in the moment. Why does that feel so good? There's a lot we can explore.
Yeah,
And see, like you said at the beginning, I see that we can understand the positive side that feels good and why it does,
yeah,
without getting sucked into this delusional, misanthropic, ugly denial of the very best things in human existence.
that's beautiful. Yeah. Um,
That's yeah. Okay. So where do you want to go? Where should we go
yeah,
to?
I heard you talking about that you had some experience of no doership.
Yep.
Um, so, and I know it's a very powerful experience.
Yep.
So, how, um, where was the point that you were questioning this? Because when you feel it, it seems like it's really true.
Hmm.
So,
Well, what happened for me, and I've moved on from this as well now, but I fairly quickly. I mean, one of the things to really see, and you're probably aware of this. You might not be though, because you're a lot younger than me, and is that this is all quite new in the West. When
mm,
I didn't come across it until I was in my 30s, and I've been exploring since I was in my early teens. And so it didn't really surface here. And when I was exploring it to begin with, I mean, no one knew, if you said, oh, I'm interested in non-duality, anyone in spirituality would just give you a blank look, like, I don't know what that is. So it exploded really about 25 years ago,
Mm.
and so it's a recent phenomena. It's a Western version of a already quite troublesome Eastern tradition. What I've seen in my life is this massive embrace of Eastern, Indian specifically, philosophy, as if it's just true. So a lot of people, we were very critical of Western religion and then just embraced Eastern religion. And now it's time to look at that critically and go, "How? Hang on a second. This has got its own problems."
Mm.
And it really has. It just seemed
Yeah.
very different and exotic and experiential.
Yeah.
So that's the bit of background. And very quickly, what I did was I moved to a much more benign approach to non-duality, which was a both and approach. So it was like, it wasn't saying you're not a person. It was going, there is a deep part of you which is one with everything, and then there's your separate individual, and they're both important, but that's not really you. There's a bigger part. Now I think that's wrong now, but it didn't have that effect of denying the individual. So it didn't initiate those kind of problematic experiences that you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
It was still wrong, I think. It was still, it took me quite a while, to see what was wrong with it. Because like you, I was thinking, well, but there's something good here, isn't there? Really, really good. And it's experiential. And one of the things which is, I'm in danger of jumping onto too many topics all at once, but one of the real breakthroughs from me, and it's really obvious, and I can't believe it took me so long, was to see that just because I experienced it a certain way didn't mean it was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really obvious to me now, because I look around and I see it, everyone, you talk to a fundamentalist Christian, they're experiencing it. That's why they think it's true. And yet to me, it's obviously not true. But for them, and so breaking that assumption, that self-verifying loop, that because I'm experiencing it, so you experience there's no doer, therefore it must be true.
Mm.
Or you're experiencing something, it seems interesting and significant, there may be different ways of understanding what that is. And so what I've ended up with, I would say with all of these things, a really key insight for me was, and a bit of a shock, because it meant that nearly all of my books were wrong only in this one aspect, not completely, but in this kind of fundamental aspect, was around what we mean by consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So for me now, if I put it really quickly, it seems obvious that what I mean by consciousness, I am conscious of what I pay attention to. And that as I move my attention around, wherever I put my attention, I am conscious of that. So my favorite example is your left foot. Now, I bet you weren't conscious of your left foot before I said that, but by thinking it, you go, oh yeah, my left foot, and now you're conscious of it. And so what it looks like is that we're taking in all this information all the time. And then some of it really matters to us. Most of it you don't want to be bothered with. And so the system, very wisely in the evolutionary process, has learned to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it prioritizes, it processes it in high definition. And it's very vivid, and it's like this. And whatever it doesn't prioritize, it's in very low definition, and you don't even notice it consciously, but it's taking in. So for instance, if unconsciously I picked up something which seemed important, my attention would go to it. Or when you're asleep at night, you're fine, you're dreaming, you're not conscious of anything maybe at all, not even dreams. But if someone comes in the room, you pick that up unconsciously, and then your attention's there. That's a very different, much more obvious view of consciousness. And what it does is it goes, oh, so what if when I experience there's no doer, it's because I'm not paying attention to me doing stuff. So that what I'm conscious of, and I can do it now because I got used to it. So if I shift my state, there's a flow of experience happening, and I'm just witnessing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm still saying this. Look, it's just I'm not paying attention to the process by which I say it. That's just happening relatively unconsciously.
I
And I
understand.
think,
Yeah.
so I think what's happening with these states when people go, there was no self, it's like, well, you weren't paying attention to the self. It's a bit like, it would be ridiculous, I think, to most people. If I said I went to sleep last night and I had a dream, vivid, and this world just didn't exist. It just didn't exist. You go, well, it did. You were lying in the bed asleep. You just weren't paying any attention. No, it didn't exist. You don't understand. It didn't exist. It's like, no, it did exist. You were just asleep in the bed. And a bit like that. It's like you think there's no self or there's no time. It's a very common one. And these are powerful experiences and valuable, lovely experiences. You come into a place and there's nothing to change. It's just this presence. But then you come back and you've been in it for 20 minutes because you were in it. You were in it. You were realizing it's all one. You were realizing these states. You were realizing there's a place where you can experience timelessness. And the fact that you weren't aware of you doing that is just to do with the nature of attention. It's just where you put your attention.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I think this whole phenomenon of depersonalization, for me, I cannot generalize this, but for me, it was like I paid so much attention to myself. It's like I watched myself 24/7 doing stuff that it somehow separated me from just being myself.
Yes.
Yeah, and this has to do with attention.
Yes.
So before this, my attention was, I don't know, more outside or in, I don't know, some percent attention was on me but the more attention on the outside. And somehow these watching myself shifted my attention to completely to myself. And then everything got really weird. Um,
So one of the things which strikes me is that it's kind of like the human superpower in some ways. It's like we can reflect on our processing. We can't reflect on much of it, to be honest. Most of it happens unconsciously, but we can reflect. Like we can choose. We can reflect. We can go. We can think. There's the. Would I like to have a conversation with Cece or not? I think I will. I can do that. I can reflect on things. So let's imagine for a moment. Let's see it from a complete. Forget the non-dual perspective and just go. Look, there's me. I'm a system. The oneness of the universe has arisen as a Tim. The oneness of the universe has arisen as a Cece, and here we are. So I'm a system taking in all this information and processing it. And I have this amazing ability to watch myself do it and therefore do it better. Same thing with the attention. So if I put attention in the world, I'm much more likely to do something well if I paid attention. The same with my processing. I'm much more likely to process well if I paid attention. This is why it's evolved. So we're witnessing the system function. But here's the key thing. I'm not the witness. I'm not this disembodied something. I'm the whole thing, witnessing itself. A bit like, it's like I'm touching myself. I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at my processing. And that's really healthy. But if then you go, no, none of this is you. You're just the thing watching. That's what you really are. And you should always be in it. It's like, whoa, now you're always in this place of just watching. And so the system is now divided against itself.
Yeah.
It now thinks it's not the whole thing. It's got this weird, literally depersonalized. It's uncoupled its ability to reflect from the very thing that's actually doing the reflecting. And that is disastrous. And that's what this what is in fact, like a primitive psychology really is doing. That I think that's why it's so unhealthy.
Yeah.
So it's taking experiences which in themselves can be really healthy and turning them into things which are unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because the ability to watch yourself is really, it's a good thing to do. So it took a long time for me to reflect on this idea and to realize okay, it's normal that we have the ability to watch ourselves. You have to recognize when you are hungry. That you have to watch yourself to recognize this, you know?
Yep.
So what does this mean? It doesn't mean anything that we are only the observer.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
no.
And if you stop and look at it, it's a kind of crazy idea. The further I've got away from it over these years, the crazier and crazier it looks. The
Mm.
idea that there's a thing called pure consciousness or something. It's like, what would that possibly be? And it's like, and somehow you're it and I'm it, and it's like, and it's aware and it's looking, but it's looking, but what it's experiencing as you is completely different from what it's experiencing in me. But there is no you and me. Hang on a second. How does and it doesn't. How much simpler to just go, look, there's one universe, and it's evolved into all of these different forms. It's one universe in relationship with itself as all these different systems, including you and me. And what you are is CC. That's the whole point. How fantastic that you are this unique, beautiful human being, unlike any other, in this particular place, in this particular time, on this particular journey. And you have the ability to reflect and make choices where you can choose, co-create your life, because you're interacting. You are the one in relationship to itself. And unlike most things in the universe, you're conscious. You can do that. I mean, these are things to celebrate. And you can think, and that's brilliant. But you don't want to be doing any of those things all the time. You know, if you're reflecting all the time, it's like, no, don't reflect all the time. Some of the time, just be right there in, you know, what you're doing, or the feeling of hot water on your face when you wash your face, or just the sun on your back. And there's no reflecting. It's just, ooh, you want that as well. But you can also, when you need to, reflect. Same with thinking. It's like thinking is imagining talking to yourself. That's all it is. And like talking, it can be really good. Like, this is great. But, you know, if I just sat here and said the same thing over and over again, it might not be so good. You know, if I were in a loop, and that can happen. Or I could be really aggressive to myself or to others over and over again. So, or fearful, then it's not so good. But in itself, it's neither good nor bad. It's just talking. And it's
Yeah,
just
it's
talking to yourself.
I think you know this perspective that you cannot choose your thoughts. They just pop up and you cannot do anything about it. It just happens by itself and so on. And I believed in this for so long, and it got when I got so anxious and depressed and so on because of these things, it was like, oh fuck, but I cannot do anything about it, because I cannot choose how to think about it, because thoughts just happen, and I cannot do anything. I can just sit here and wait and hope to get better. If I don't know, I'm just lucky. You know what I mean? And
It,
this is so psychologically wrong to tell this to people.
awful.
These people get passive in their life and just sit there and do nothing because they think they can't influence anything.
So the essence of the mistake there, it seems to me, is about identity. So if you've got this, if you've adopted and pushing this idea that you're not really Cece, whatever that could possibly mean, or that Cece and Tim don't really exist, whatever that could mean, actually, that you're some disembodied, non-material presence which has no qualities and is, you know, whatever, observing it all. That's when you go, look, what people are doing is they're going, when they say you don't choose your thoughts, they're going, you're the conscious bit, you're this consciousness, and the consciousness doesn't choose the thoughts. Well, forget that. Instead, if you have an idea of identity which goes, well, who is Tim? Tim is everything that's ever happened to Tim. That's who Tim is. Tim is this process which is unfolding. Most of what functions in Tim is unconscious, and that's a good thing, because it doesn't take up so much energy, and it works pretty well. Like when I walk, I don't go, move that leg, move that leg. I just move my legs. It's great. I don't even know how I do it. But I move my legs, and I can choose not to if I need to, because I can reflect. So then it's like, well, you don't choose consciously your thoughts, but you choose, if you're reflecting, whether to follow them or not.
Yeah,
That's the key.
Yes,
That's
that's the thing. And at one point I thought, if they are right, how is it possible that anything got invented? Like, I don't know, space shuttles or something like this. How is this possible if people just randomly think stuff and cannot choose to follow or not follow, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Something you have to have something, I don't know, inside of you, which can somehow, like you said, choose to follow or not follow.
Yeah. And then it's like what all of this is doing is it's belittling or condemning some of the greatest qualities of being human. And honestly, spirituality generally has got a bad track record with this.
Mm.
And in my attempts to take the best and leave the worst, I really want to grab the beautiful experiences that are available without all of that baggage, because as far as I can see, it's been 14 billion years to get to individuals who are conscious, can reflect, can communicate with words, with others and themselves, through which they can change the way they process. When we finish this conversation, we'll both be different for it. We'll have changed the way we process. We're evolving that fast. That's incredible.
Yeah.
These are the most valuable things we have that we can, and new possibilities gets thrown up. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to say to you next, obviously, because it's happening too fast, but I can reflect on it. And then I could go, oh, well, actually, that's not right. And correct it. But I'm doing it. And that's wonderful. That's my interaction with the universe. All of those things is what makes us human. And they seem really important to me. And what this philosophy does is denigrate and deny all of it and leaves you going, you're not really there. You live in an illusion. Nothing's got any meaning. And the power that you think you have of choosing even what to believe doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of anything more nihilistic. And that's claimed to be liberation. And here's the thing. It's like, if you are suffering in your soul, in your psyche, and you put your attention somewhere else, it will be better. Of course it will.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
Sure. Yeah,
it's like if you're having a hard time, if we were together and you were having a hard time about something, I might go, hey, just leave that for a bit and come and look at the sunset with me, and just pay attention to something else for a bit. And you'd be right there in the moment. But then you need to go back to the thing that was troubling you, because it's still there.
Yeah.
Not the idea of eternal escape. Because, I mean, even some of the great traditions, you look at the traditions of the Buddhist tradition, and you get that, look, it's the end of suffering. Well, how do you find the end of suffering? Well, giving up being human. Stop being attached to people, stop having emotions, stop having thoughts, stop thinking you're a person, you're a you. If you get rid of all that, then of course, but you get rid of everything.
Yeah.
You're becoming nothing.
Yeah,
and
it took me a long time to see this. Yeah. Yeah.
Disaster.
Yeah, and I don't know why I should be nothing here. It makes no sense. For me, it makes no sense that all these teachers are alive somehow, because when you really, when you think you are nothing and you perceive yourself as nothing, what you are doing here, like, just.
It's a. I don't want to. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of charlatans in the world of spirituality. Partly, I mean, there's charlatans everywhere, of course. I mean, human beings are duplicitous. It's not just spirituality. But it's easier to pull off in spirituality. It's like if I arrive here and I say, well, actually, CC, I think you'll find I'm a master of physics. It probably would take, if you knew anything about physics, you'd probably find out within 2 or 3 minutes, he's not really a master of physics, is he? He's just read a few physics books, and he's trying to, he knows that much, but he doesn't know that much. But with spirituality, I can go, look, I've had this experience and I've learned these simple things, and that gives me authority.
Mm-hmm.
And the more far out it is, the more you can do that. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone who's doing that is deliberately conning people. But I do think we, as human beings, we look for a role to play. We look for a place that gives us some meaning. All the things that make us human, all the things they want to deny with the philosophy is the reason I think a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Which is why suddenly, with the non-dual thing particularly, what happened was it was so easy to become a non-dual teacher. It was because there wasn't anything to it. So you didn't have to know anything. So bang, suddenly everyone and his mother was a non-dual teacher. And that proliferated the ideas outwards and outwards and outwards. And if you then go, it's the old trick of the religious traditions, if you go, doubt is a bad thing or thinking is a bad thing, how do you ever get out?
Mm.
How do you get out of something which won't let you think about it?
Yeah. And when you think about it, then it's your ego which thinks about it, and the ego is the bad one. So what to believe? It was hard for me. I couldn't trust myself anymore.
But it's a great thing. I'm not trying to downplay the suffering it caused you, but in a very different way for me. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was involved in an Indian cult, but I'm also grateful to it because I really got to see how it functions. Eventually, I mean, it was hard. Getting out was tough. But in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, I see.
Mm.
And sometimes you to see it from the inside, to see how you can get caught in how you work to take on an idea.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is, it's often sold as it's a spontaneous thing. You just need to listen to an awful lot of me talking before you can have this spontaneous thing. Yeah. But you listen to hours and hours and you stop listening to anything else. And then you have the spontaneous thing, whether it's the spontaneous no doer or whether it's Christ comes to your soul and you realize that, you've been accepted into the body of Christ, or whether it's any of those things. There's the preparation happens and then poof, suddenly that's your reality. Now is different because now that's how you're experiencing it. So it now feels self-evident.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And it isn't self-evident. You've made it self-evident.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you mean when you are talking about ideation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That we're constantly sensing and making sense of the world and ourselves. And that's how a human, every system is doing it. The plant is not doing it very differently, but every system is reading and responding to the environment. Even chemicals are doing it. And we're doing it on this level of taking in light and reading light and sound, but also ideas which categorize what something is.
Yeah.
And put it into a story, into a narrative, because otherwise it'd be useless to us, wouldn't it? I mean, I can see this room, but if I didn't go, it's a room, I'm sitting here, that's where I live, I'm speaking to CC, this is I mean, millions and millions and millions of categorizations. That's what ideas are doing. If I then learn a new idea, like it's all in consciousness and don't really, it's all just happening and there's nothing I can do about things, then I'll start to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. The interesting thing, or also the, I don't know, confusing thing for me about this is it makes total sense. But it feels like, okay, if it's like this, I will never know what's true, because every experience I have is somehow an idea,
Okay.
and
so I think then the question is to dig into what do we mean by true. And I found this really helpful for me, which I love etymology, the meaning of words, where they come from, the origins of words. Because often there's a kind of clue as to what it really, how to understand the word. And I don't know what the German equivalent is or whether it's the same, but in English, the word truth, the root, means trustworthy. And we have that, like we still have it in English, like we'll talk about a true friend who's a trustworthy friend, or a false friend. False means untrustworthy. So what do we? So if you get that, you get away of the idea of the truth, or there's a thing out there called the truth, or any of that, and you just go, what we're looking at is this narrative, is this belief trustworthy? That's it. So can I trust the idea that I'm sitting in my office talking to Cece? Well, I think I can. So I would say that is true. Can I trust the idea that I'm the presence of pure consciousness within, watching everything? Well, maybe, maybe not. I have to look a bit further into that. And the fact that I'm experiencing it should not fool me into thinking that I still don't need to inquire. So it's not that you can never reach the truth, because there is no the truth. And that's not because we can't reach it. It's not because it's always beyond. It's a misunderstanding what the word means. It's about finding the most trustworthy way to interact with the world and ourselves. And that will keep changing. We just want to make sure it gets
that's
better.
Also and it's also very individual. I think if you would ask a non-dual teacher, he would say to you that his experience is the most trustworthy thing.
He thinks that, yes.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of going, okay, well, the only person who can evaluate those statements is each individual. But between us, we can engage and question each other if people are up for it. That's what's so powerful about speech, is that we can engage with each other and go, maybe or maybe not. And then we can actually help each other find more trustworthy ways to interact with the universe. An insight which I love, I don't know if this sort of thing appeals to you, but because I have this evolutionary picture of everything. In the evolution of any system, biological systems, let's say, a plant is looking for the truth, in the sense that it wants to find the light. That's what it needs to live. And it wants to find the most trustworthy way of doing it. So if it develops a biological mechanism whereby it can find the light accurately, it will flourish, and that species will do well. If there's another species which is not so good at that, they will die out because it's not as trustworthy. As we come through, we have learned how to do that biologically, and now we're doing it on an ideational level. We are looking for how can I ideate, categorize, understand what this is I'm in the most trustworthy way. And the better we do it, the more likely individually and collectively we are to flourish. And what you discovered was there was a way of ideating this reality which looked like it was trustworthy, looked like it could be the secret to actually living a suffering-free life, but it wasn't trustworthy. And sooner or later it comes crashing down.
Yeah.
And that's why being able to reflect is so important, because it's a chance to not let it come crashing down, or when it does, to get back up and find something better.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why, to me, it's like when I share ideas, for me, I always want to go, look, this is my best guess. This is what I found to be most trustworthy so far. But if there's something better, and if I can improve it, or if you can help me improve it, then how exciting.
Yeah.
Rather than, I've got Ramesh's book here, The Final Understanding, or The Final Truth, or something like that, which I bought from him. I loved meeting him, but part of me should have been going, do that. Oh, no. This is, and it is a final truth because it's a negative. It's seen as, well, it's portrayed as the final truth, which is ridiculous, but it's done in that way because it's seen as, well, once you've realized that you don't exist and there's no doer and everything, once you've negated everything,
okay, yeah,
there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And in that respect, once you have negated everything, then there is nowhere to go. But if you're in a positive evolutionary understanding, there's always further to go. There's always something new to create, and some new possibility you'd never dreamed of, some new experience that will happen. And I suspect, our generations after us and after us and after will live in, quite a different world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think if someone like me, um, who has problems with leaving a belief system behind because it took so much time to really it was a lot of time I spent with these teachings and so much time to get it somehow, and it made so much sense to me, blah blah blah. And then I wanted to leave it behind, and it took a long time to come to this point now where I think, okay, many things don't make sense to me anymore, and I don't believe them anymore, and I don't think about this, and it is great. But and I really would like to perceive myself and the world in another way. Um, and I understand that this ideation plays a big role in this. So what can I do to, I don't know how to say it, speed up the process of creating the perception of myself and the world which I want? Can you understand what I mean?
Partly. I need you to say more. How can you create the perception of the world that you want? What is the perception that you want?
Um, Before my bad experience with non-duality, I wanted to see that I don't exist because I thought this would help me somehow. So I got to this point. And then it was like, okay, no, I don't think I want this really. And so for me, I wish I could really perceive myself as a soul again, like
Hmm.
I did before non-duality,
Hmm.
because it was, I think it is a normal perception. I think you are born with the perception that you have a body and a soul somehow, and that is connected and all this stuff. And so I would like to go back to this experience. Partly I do, but it's hard work. And sometimes I ask myself, okay, is there something I can do to that this gets easier for me? Do I have to, I don't know, work on affirmations, or I have to sit down and meditate on my soul, or you know what I mean?
I do.
So yeah, what do you think?
Well, one thing I think is that if you can, I don't know whether it's a different country, but we're doing a retreat in September, and if you can come across to that, I think you would absolutely love it, and your soul would would come alive, because a part of what I see as the most powerful thing is connecting with other souls, and
You mean when you say soul, you mean an individual soul, right?
yes, well, I'll tell you exactly what I mean. Actually, for me, it's purely experiential. The reason that human beings have always in history believed we exist as a body and soul is because we're always experiencing that all the
Mm,
time. We're experiencing a physical world of biology and the senses, and we're experiencing an imaginal world of the psyche or soul. And this conversation has been happening in the soul. That's
mm,
where all the meaning is. It's all the everything. It's an imaginal event, and our bodies have been very patient and just sat in their chairs, apart from my arms, which have to throw themselves around for some reason. But all the action has been taken place in the soul. So the soul is the most emergent level of 14 billion years of evolution, as far as we can make out. And it's huge. And it's so much more than just the little bit that talks to itself. It's massive and beautiful. And spending time with it is really, really important. So there's a million things you can do. But one of the things I suspect is that the more you can the more you can isolate the good thing and not associate it anymore with the bad thing, the better. So, for instance, years ago for
yeah.
me, when
Example, please.
yes, so when I was in this cult a long time ago, I did a lot of meditation. So when I left, it was like every time I meditated, it associated with that.
Mm,
And it took a while before I could disassociate it and go, look, I'm just being quiet and finding and exploring. And it's my thing. It's mine. It doesn't belong to that. It belongs to me. and now it's lovely and it's fine, and I don't have any of those associations. So it's setting up a new understanding and new associations, and seeing what, trying out things. It's a bit like, this is a terrible analogy. Is this a terrible analogy? Am I going to say this? I'm gonna say it, and then I might need to retract it. But it's come to my head, so forgive me. I want to go. I'm not sure this is true, but I want to go. It's a bit, it's a bit like breaking up in a marriage or something. And it's like you've got so used to this, and then you've put your life into it, and then you've realized it has been a disaster for you, and you break away, and then what are you going to do? Well, you just got to start dating again, haven't you? And that means you've got to experiment. Try that. How was that? Try that. Did that work? Read that book. Listen to that person talk. Find the things that your soul comes alive and goes, yeah, no, that intuition of follow that, and see where it leads now, and where the next part of your journey will take off. And as that happens, I mean, personally, I have complete confidence it will take off for you, that your soul will just blossom now, and be richer and wiser than it would have been.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is part of the confidence for that, is one of the greatest things you can do, I would say, is to turn the bad thing into something good. And that's exactly what it seems like you're doing. The invite to talk to me about it and then to share that is turning a bad experience for you into something that can be good in the world.
Yeah, that's true. I'm so grateful that I started this YouTube channel and started talking about my experience, and got so much positive feedback, and feedback from people who experienced similar stuff and who say like, hey, I'm so grateful that you are talking about this. It's so important. I think Jessica hears this also many times, and this is really the first time in my life that it sometimes feels like I do something really good for many people, and for people I don't even know,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
That's so
Beautiful.
beautiful and
That
great.
is. That's
Yeah,
fantastic. There you go.
yeah.
That's your route out. That's it. That's the
And
route.
that wasn't even my intention with the YouTube channel. I just wanted to, in the beginning, I just wanted to talk to myself. It was not like I want to talk to people out there. It was like I record myself talking to understand myself better. And I uploaded it to YouTube and thought, oh, nobody will see this anyway. So, but then people saw it and people liked it, and so it evolved. And
Fantastic.
yeah, it's really great. And it helped me a lot, really.
So one of the things as well that I feel like to I would suggest that you can still, and maybe you are already, but those states, I would call them not oneness really, but communion. And the reason that I changed my language to talk about communion was it became more obvious that the individual was involved. That an individual who comes into a state of oneness is a communion of the individual, and the oneness. The individual doesn't disappear. It's the individual that makes it possible.
Okay.
Part of the universe has reached such a level of emergence that it can become conscious of the fact that it is actually one universe. That's amazing. And because of the connection, it is an experience, I think, of love, just of overwhelming love. And that seems to be something which can really, it's such a positive thing to focus on. And that's the taking the best and leaving the worst for me. Just there.
Yeah, sometimes when I hear you say, you said it before, this sentence like the universe is experiencing itself or something. How do you say it?
I'm not saying
Yeah.
the universe is, well, I'm saying, look, it's a one as well. The universe, look at it. One thing, all in relationship with itself, and I am that as well. So that there's a both andness to it. I mean, the analogy that came to me just today when I was out walking, actually, was, I think, that trying to explain this, was going, if you take a sheet of paper and you cover it with lots of separate circles, it's still one piece of paper, but now it's divided into all these separate circles, and both are true. And that's what I think is happening, is that the one thing is differentiating, and that's what it's making it evolve from something very, very basic and not very interesting comparatively into this. And so that we can meet and we're both completely individual, and yet we're like, I don't know, like branches on one tree. It's like we're different branches, completely different. We're meeting each other. Or my hands. It's like, it's like, look at two hands, going, you're a different hand. Yeah, you are a different hand. But actually, if you go back far enough, it turns out, oh, hang on. They're all part of the same thing. And that sense, and they haven't become any less. It's still a left hand and a right hand. It's just there's also a level beneath it where everything integrates. And
Yeah,
that's the insight, I think.
It's hard for me to really understand this because I was so much into these teachings that when someone like you says everything is also one, it's hard to not think about this in this classical non-duality way.
Yeah.
And also this concept of it is this and this at the same time. It's not easy to grasp this.
Well, that's why I said, think of the piece of paper. It's like that's easy to grasp, isn't it?
For sure.
It's one piece of paper covered in different circles. And which is it? Well, it's both. That's not difficult.
Yeah, but somehow it feels like, okay, if this oneness separated in many things and also into me, can I still have some kind of independence? How is this possible if
I understand what you're saying. These are
do you
really
know
deep
what I
questions.
mean?
Yeah, no, really deep questions. So one of the ideas which is quite prevalent is this idea, like there's the universe, which is a confusing word really, because in spirituality, but it's as if it's conscious through Tim. It's like there's one thing behind all of this, and it's looking at you. And I'm not saying that. It's more I'm saying, look, the one which is differentiated into everything, the singularity which is differentiated into everything, is conscious as Tim. It's conscious. As Tim. It's now conscious and making choices, but it's as Tim. It's not it behind the scenes like and Tim's a puppet. There's nothing behind the scenes. There's nothing there. It's empty behind the scenes.
I get. Yeah?
It's this is arisen, and as Tim, look, here it is, and Tim is Tim, just like you would, just in that common sense view of being a human being. But literally, just that lovely insight from science. The carbon that makes up my body was made in ancient stars. Everything has come from somewhere else and developed, and we are that. That doesn't make any but it's developed into Cece, who thinks for herself. That's the whole point. It's now that carbon has become Cece. And she's not a puppet of anything. That's it. That's the point.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it's really hard to understand when you have this non-duality background where oneness means you have no choice and you are a puppet and all this stuff but I think I understand it better now. Thank you for explaining. It's still kind of abstract, but yeah, it's an interesting idea. And
here's the difference, because it is literally abstract. You can't sense the oneness. You have to, what I call, sense it or intuit it. because you can't sense it. You can only, all you can sense is this little bit that you're in, but from that you can understand and then experience the oneness. But here's the difference for me, maybe, is when I started on this little portion of my journey, which is really not that long. I mean, 6 years, 5, 6, 7 years, this little bit. I noticed this shift, and at first, my worry at first was, oh, I'm going to lose the experience, this change in understanding. I'm going to lose this lovely experience I have. And then I realized I was having the same experience, it was better. Because what I had, it may be different for you, but what I had was, if I do it now, if I do it from the old model, I'm now outside everything. I'm the empty space within which everything's just changing of itself, and I'm this presence, and I've literally transcended it. I'm outside of it as this imagined presence of awareness, and everything's just unfolding. And that's a pretty interesting way to see things. If you're not, I don't want it now. This way, if I move it around, there's a fundamental oneness of the all, which is arising as all of this unique differentiation, including Tim. And Tim, which is me, is embedded in it, completely embedded in this oneness, not separate from it, not transcendent from the world, it's one thing, of which this is an element in relationship to everything else, which is also the one thing, but arising as that, and as that, and as the plant, and as the sun, and as the ground under my feet. And so that there's this visceral connectivity and immanence to it, so that the same experience shifted, and it's better, actually. And it was much more like, I remembered, it was much more like early experiences I had of awakening, when way before I experienced non-duality. They were much more like that. I had to learn to see it in this other way of being outside. And
is it more like feeling some kind of, I don't know how to say it better, some kind of energy in yourself and other people and other living things, where you can say this energy is the same?
I don't see it like that particularly. No, I don't see it as the same energy or anything. I think energy is quite a difficult word to tie down.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So it's more like, so this is an abstract thought. I really like it, but it probably take a long time to really make much sense of it. But when I say the one, I mean what we refer to by the number one. I just mean one. It's a one, and that one has been differentiated into all of this. And it's all the information which has differentiated the one, which has the quality of what? Just being one. There's nothing. There's nothing. And the evolution of the universe is the process of differentiating of something which is just the one in relationship to itself, the one as two, into everything. So that the one is not the one. It's like, it's the simplest thing you could possibly imagine. But it's become everything. And it's not like that's real and this isn't, because this is the one. But this is the one, it's now everything. It's all real. And the more emergent aspects of it feel more real, I think, which is why when we touch these spiritual experiences, they feel amazing, because they're right on the leading edge of that process of becoming more. And that's what we respond to. It's an amazing thing when we do that. So to me, it's like, okay, maybe the next part of the journey is we recognize the value of our individuality, but also our connection with everything. And the tragedy of this little blip of non-duality, which will pass. It's already changed beyond, you
It
know.
gets worse, I think.
Do you think so? Maybe it is. Maybe it's still
Yeah.
getting worse. Okay, okay.
But
But
yeah,
it will go over because it's there's something good in there, but it's got this dark nihilistic thing going on, and it mimics. Well, no, that's not fair. It reflects, or it's a very resonant. Let me say it like that, with the kind of misanthropic approach to science, which is the dominant ideology amongst the educated in the West,
mm,
because they're both misanthropic. You know, the I love science. I think it's amazing, but the same bit like with the non-duality. Look, I want the oneness, and there's a lot of stuff in there which is of value, and then this, and then over here with the science, the same. It's like, look, that's incredible what we've learned. I mean, unbelievable. But with this reductionist idea that will
yeah,
go, oh, you've got, you know, it'll also go, you've got no, you think you're agreeing with that, but really it's just chemicals in your body, and those are really just atoms, and those are really just quantum, you know, and you are nothing.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
the same.
and
Yeah,
your soul is really just your brain is just chemicals, your opinions are just a product of automatic reactions on a physical level, all of that.
yeah,
And the same thing. So they're kind of kin. So it was no surprise this non-duality took off, because
yeah,
the space had been created for it by this very negative version of science. It's not science, it's a philosophy which has become associated with science.
yeah,
Just like this isn't spirituality, it's a philosophy that's got associated with it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
It's
why
so
we need a new one.
true.
That's why we need a new one, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I think this too. Because I'm also not a fan of this version of science you are
Yeah,
talking of, and these non-duality teachers, they like to take this scientific approach and use it as kind of proof for their theories.
yeah.
You know, like these Libet experiments in the 80s or whatever, when you know.
I do know them. And the irony is that he drew the complete opposite
Yeah,
conclusions from them.
yeah, yeah.
He didn't see it in that way at all. And what these experiments, what they show is reflection. They show that most of what you do, you don't reflect on, and that's a good
Mm,
thing. But when you reflect, it slows it down.
mm,
You know, consciousness is a expensive thing in terms of time and energy. You know, if I had to stop and think about everything I'm saying to you before I said it, the conversation would be much slower. But because I'm willing to just say it, it's fast. So, but if I've got a real problem that I need to work on, or a choice that's important, it takes time. So what you see with those experiments is give people time to reflect, and there will be a gap in their thinking because it takes time.
yeah,
That's all it shows. And you know, and also again you have this prejudice that somehow the person isn't the whole system, it's only the conscious bit, rather than going, no, you're the whole system. It's still you choosing, it's just you chose it unconsciously. And if
mm,
you know, and that's what you do mostly.
yeah.
And which is why you need to become more conscious sometimes. When you make bad choices, you have to become conscious. But you wouldn't want to be conscious of everything, would you? That would drive you nuts.
Yeah, I think what's interesting in terms of this depersonalization stuff, and what made me very anxious, was that I was realizing how much I was doing subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And because of these teachings, I concluded, oh, okay, this means I am just a meat robot and I
Right.
cannot influence anything. I am the divine puppet thing, you know.
Yeah.
But now I understand this was an interpretation. But I really saw how much we do unconsciously
Sure.
or subconsciously, and but that's not bad.
No.
It's very useful because yeah, everything will take so much time.
If you just, I mean, just I always want people to just say, look, you're taking in so much information. Just to keep myself upright in the chair and not fall over, I'm monitoring my movements all the time, compensating. When I walk on something that's not quite flat, I have to compensate for the movement there. And if I don't, I fall over. But generally, you compensate and you make a decision. Something happens over there. Is it a danger? I have to be able to compensate. All of this information, like I said, just to look at the room, to know what everything is. So if you said to me, what is that? I would go, oh, it's that. I understand it. I know its role. I know why it's there. There's a huge amount of information. And thank God, most of it can be done unconsciously. It's like learning to drive. You know, you can, when you learn to drive, you have to make it conscious. Really slowly. Oh, the brake, the thing. And no, pay attention, otherwise you could kill yourself. Once you know how to drive, you can drive, listen to music, have a conversation, eat a sandwich, because you know how to do it. Unless suddenly it was really bad weather. Then you'd have to make it conscious, because you could make a mistake. So now you're back to zzz, that's it. It's just as simple as that. And then the art surely becomes knowing I'm doing something unconsciously and it's not good. I need to examine it. I need to dig it out. I need to reflect on it, and I need to change it.
Yeah. And therefore, it's very important that you think of yourself as someone who can choose things.
Absolutely. It's you could make an argument for saying it is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely essential. And to deny that, to deny your agency, is awful thing to do. Whereas what we, it's a bit like what we need to say to each other is really appreciate and make the most of your agency. It's a bit like with thinking. It's like if you tell people not to think, they will not become enlightened, they'll become stupid. We need to think more, and we need to think better.
Yeah.
But we don't need to think all the time, and we don't want to think bad. But we want to think healthy, and we want to think better. That's,
Yeah, and it's important to work on that.
I had this thing, CC, I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, but I did this thing in one of my books where when my little daughter was young, and I suddenly thought, would I teach these things to my daughter? And if so, why would I think about teaching them to anyone else? For instance, would I say to my daughter, oh, darling, I'm a bit worried about you going to school because I want you to stop thinking, because then you'll be enlightened. No, I wouldn't say that. Why wouldn't I say that? Would I say to her, you don't really exist, darling, so I don't want you to get confused? No, I wouldn't say that to her. Why not? Would I say to her, don't become attached, honey, Daddy, I love you. Yeah, but don't become attached. I wouldn't do that. Why not?
Yeah.
Would I say to her, you have no free will, hun. So, whether you do go to bed when I tell you or not, it's not up to you. I wouldn't say that to her.
Yeah, imagine this.
I wouldn't
it's
say.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is literally crazy.
Yeah.
And when you see that, and that example really works for me, because you can just see that is crazy.
Yeah.
And what we need to be doing is the opposite of that.
Yeah. What's interesting is I remember there was a conversation between a radical non-duality teacher and someone else, I don't remember. And this person asked the teacher the same question, like, would you say to your child that you don't have free will? And it was so interesting because the teacher said, I don't have any child, so I cannot respond to this. And I was like, what? You can't imagine this? What's wrong with you? And yeah, he was like, no, I don't have a child, so let's talk about something else. And I mean, for sure he can imagine this, and for sure he would know that this is not a good thing to do, to say this to you, but they cannot confess this.
So my biggest hope with all of this personally is that those that have been through the experiences like you and Jessica and many other people that I've now met, that there's a way of, I imagine there must be a lot of people who become cynical. because I see that when people get involved in spirituality and it goes sour, not just with this one, but other forms as well, it's very easy to just think, God, that was just a lot of rubbish. And part of what I want to try and do is go, it's not a lot of rubbish. There's something really precious in it. Like you said about reconnecting with the soul, there's something really precious here. And there always has been, even though the ways in which human beings have interpreted it in the past now need to be left behind. Because they may have been cutting edge in the past, but they're not now. And we need to develop a new understanding which can unite the best of science, the best of spirituality, into a new narrative, one which is open-ended, constantly evolving, changing, doesn't tie you into something, but which allows us as human beings to explore these really amazing spiritual experiences and states in a healthy way, and let that play into an appreciation of the things we've already got. The ability, so we have the ability to make choices. Let's turn it up. Let's make more choices, make better choices. We can think, wonderful. Let's have good conversations together and with ourselves, whereby let's have the opposite of being stuck in the idea of the truth. Let's have, hey, here's a new way of seeing it and it looks better. What do you think? Wow, that's great. That excitement of discovery and new things. Let's have that.
Yeah. That sounds beautiful, really.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
like this.
I like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so sad when people get stuck into, I know the truth. And I was there also. I tried to convince people that they are robots before it felt so bad to me. Really, it's crazy, but
just treasure that moment, CC. Just treasure that moment. Somebody who thinks they have no free will because they're a robot, trying to convince another person who has no free will to agree or not that they're a robot. The whole thing is like a Monty Python sketch. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. But in this moment, you don't reflect this.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like this.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's
well done for getting out. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And I do know that takes courage. It does. I mean, in my own much smaller way, turning around and acknowledging first to myself and then publicly that I completely changed my view on consciousness.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, that's...
Yes, that must have been hard too. Because as I think, no, you weren't a teacher, but I don't know, you talked about this stuff a lot in the...
Yeah, a lot, yeah.
In the...
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I got so good at thinking about it and talking about it that I saw what was wrong with it. I think that was what happened.
It's great when this happens. I don't think it happens often. And if then you have the courage to stand up and say to a lot of people, hey, I was wrong. And I wrote books about it. And these books are wrong. You say not everything is wrong, but that's really, a great thing and takes a lot of courage.
And it is a good thing. I've come to see that now, because it enables, because that's what we need to do. We need to model that for each other. That you can go, oh yeah, I was wrong about that. I mean, and honest to goodness, I mean, I'm 65 next week. I think it's next week, something like that, which seems crazily old. And I've been doing this for quite some time now, intensely. And I should say my 60s are dominated by looking at how wrong I've been in a million ways. Just looking back going, wow, oh, look at that, how wrong I was there. And it does feel to me, if you can't look back, if you reach a ripe old age and you can't look back, and realize how wrong you've been, what have you've been doing with your life? Because every time you evolve, you go, oh, I was wrong about that in some way, And some way you
Yeah,
go,
it's cool how this is a really positive thing for you, but it could also be that it makes you depressed somehow to think, oh my God, I was wrong in so many ways.
it is humbling, I tell you,
Yeah.
it is. It is humbling. And I don't just mean like philosophically here. I just mean, that just looking at the insights of a younger Tim was lesser than an older Tim. And it wouldn't surprise me at all that if I live to be a lot older, that'll happen again. I used to have this thing, I don't know, I was fascinated, I have been all my life, by death, and worked with death a lot and near-death experiences. And one of the common things that people report, I've not had one, but in near-death experiences, is the life review, where you just see the whole of your life. And I'd always thought, until I got old, I'd always thought, oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, you die and you see your life. And now I'm looking at it and going, oh dear. That could be a bit of a shock.
I feel this, and I am not that old, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think the key thing is to do it while you're alive, get used to it, and to enjoy that sense of moving on, forgiving yourself, and learning, and trying a new thing, and supporting each other in doing that.
Yeah, and really be open to other possibilities and seeing
Yep.
life in different ways and all this stuff. And don't get stuck in one perspective. It's boring.
The key thing about that, and the key thing, CC, for me is like, it's like you're always looking for the best perspective. That's right. But if you can only see it from one perspective, you have no idea if that's the best perspective.
Yeah.
You can only go, no, this is the best one, I think, right now, if you can compare it with other ones. And the more different ways you can see it, the more choice you have to go, this is the best one. So if you get stuck in a narrow view, you lose the ability to choose the best one.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah, great. So inspiring to talk to you, really.
It's lovely. I've really enjoyed meeting you immensely.
Maybe because I think we talked a long time. Yeah, we did. If it's okay for you, I would like to meet you again and talk about near-death experiences, because I have a lot of questions I would like to ask you, if you like.
I would be delighted.
It was really nice talking to you. So let's write emails. Okay?
Good.
Right. Thank you very
All right.
much.
See you again soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.